get rocking and rolling into today's training. I got a lot of stuff to talk about in 30 minutes just because the sheer volume of what I'm going to try to shove into 30 minutes for FPDS. I'm like, let me tell you every field. But I am going to go pretty fast through there. So I'm excited to talk to you about it because I love FPDS, right? There's people I sometimes hear who complain about different things that are out there, different tools, different stuff, complain about me, complain about them, whatever it is. It's like complaints don't help us. And so when I look at anything, whether it's FPDS as a government tool or whether it's my dinner and I go, what's here? I learned this tip from my older brother a long, long time ago. He goes, when I go to a restaurant, my main goal is to find one thing I like, whether it's the wine, the salad, the entree, the dessert, the water, the service, whatever it is, I'm finding one thing I like and I'm going to focus on it. And I want you to bring that same kind of attitude towards FPDS or any other government tool. Just find the stuff that's good that you like and dive into that and forget about the rest. It's all noise. All right, so I get asked this a lot, right? How can I find opportunities? And I've done hundreds of trainings on how you can find opportunities. You can find it this way, that way, et cetera. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to use FPDS. And the reason it relates to that question, how can I find opportunities, is that I do find a ton of opportunities over in FPDS. They're out years, and I look at them as expiring contracts. The majority of the work you go after, the majority of federal government opportunities you pursue are recompetes, meaning the government awarded it already, and now they're going to recompete it again for another 5 years. I know we're in 2025, so things are changing a teeny bit, but basically that's still a truism. Most of the work that's out there has already been predicted, and it's going to continue forward. There's a lot of tools that you should be mastering as a government contractor, as a business developer, or as a business owner. These are the tools of your trade. So like sam.gov, FPDS, which we're going to talk about today, USA Spending, which is kind of the front end, the GUI, what we call a graphical user interface, or just a better looking version of FPDS and some other data sources. That's USA Spending. There's GSA Advantage. It's a fantastic tool because you can go in there and see competitor pricing on their GSA schedules. You can go into a tool like Calc, CALC, where it's labor category type stuff. So there's all sorts of tools out there. And these are the tools that are in your federal government contracting toolbox. It's really important to understand that you have tools in a toolbox. You don't just show up at a construction site with no tools, right? Maybe on the first day you bring a sledgehammer, or maybe you just bring gloves and a fancy belt and you're hoping for tools, right? But eventually, as you start getting experience in construction, you get a hammer, you get a claw hammer, you get some of these other tools of the trade. In government contracting, it's no different. We look at our business and we say, what tools do we have to do our job? And these ones I just mentioned are some of the key ones you must master, FPDS being the one we're going to talk about today. Okay, so I want to break down FPDS training into three main sections. First thing I want to do is just talk about why you should master it as a skill. Pretty much I could do that topic at the beginning of every tool training, but it's really important for you to think about this, right? There's knowledge, then there's skill, and then there's mastery or experience. And today I want to talk to you about why it's really important for that skill or that tool to be in your toolbox. Second thing I want to talk about is just I'm going to dive into FPDS. I'm going to show you some of the fields that are, not some, all of the fields, and I'm going to try to go through as many as I can. But I'm also going to talk about the sections, just to give you a high-level overview of what's in FPDS, because it's just such a beautiful amount of data available to us. And then I'm going to wrap up with some top FPDS tool tips that I use, right? These are what I follow for success. And these are not all of them. They're just the ones I decided to share with you today. I'm not keeping anything back. They're just the ones I was like, hey, can I give you 7 tips? These are the 7 tips that came to my mind that when I go into FPDS, I use for success. And I hope you are able to embrace them into your job as well. So, okay, if you don't know who I am, my name is McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm co-founder of GovCon in a Box. And I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years after I got out of the Army in the federal market as a small business owner. Since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you, and this is why I do these trainings over and over again. If you haven't already connected with me, like I saw some people coming in from Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, make sure you're connecting with me on LinkedIn. This is where we're able to network with each other, and you're able to build relationships with people who are in my network. Like right now, if you're on YouTube watching this, you get the content and the value, but you probably are not seeing all the people who are on LinkedIn, and we'll have probably over 100 people live today. You're not seeing those and able to engage and say, hey, Brian, hey, oh, like David Waltz, for example, from the Navy. He's a federal buyer from the Navy. You don't see those people. So come on into LinkedIn, connect with me, connect with them. We're all open to connecting. And then make sure you subscribe to my Government Contracting Success newsletter. You can find a lot of great content on there. Tomorrow's training, just a quick heads up, is piggybacking off of yesterday's. Yesterday, I taught what to do before you send an RFI to a federal buyer. Tomorrow, I'm going to teach what to do after you send it. We call it the black hole sometimes. We send an RFI over and it seems like it disappears or no one responds. Well, that's their problem. But my thing of dealing with it is going after that RFI and continuing to build those relationships. So I'll teach you how I treat RFIs after I send them in and while I'm waiting for them to turn into an RFP or something like that. Okay, we're going to get rocking and rolling. I see people engaged in the chat, which I really appreciate. Again, it's your community. Make sure you're letting people know if you're open to connections. Let us know what you sell. So if you've got 2 or 3 keywords that just say what you sell, it makes it easy to see it pretty fast. Okay, so let's talk about why you should master FPDS as a skill, a tool in your toolbox for government contracting success. These are in no particular order, but one of the main things is that FPDS is the primary source of contract awards for all federal agencies. There are a couple of agencies, like let's say intelligence agencies, which don't share their information in there. There are classified contracts at different agencies that maybe it's too sensitive to share in here. But for the bulk of the government contracts, what has been contracted out by the federal government, it's right here in FPDS, and you're able to see all that data, and I'll talk about the data in a minute. So that's the one reason you should be in there, is because it is the primary source of contract awards, what the government has already bought. The second thing I want to talk about is that it provides all sorts of helpful data. And I think this slide and the end one are kind of aligned to each other. But you can go in there and find data about your customer, about the federal buyers, whether it's their office name, program office, contract office names, and the contracting officer emails, right? You can get in there and see who they are. That information is in there. Same thing about the competitors, right? You can see an opportunity that was awarded to somebody and you can see who won it and how much they won it for, right? And that's that third bullet in there, is that you can learn about what's being bought and what's being sold to the government. What are people selling into the government? And then you can learn how they bought it, right? Whether it's heavily competed, whether it was direct award, whether it was this contract vehicle or that contract vehicle, this NAICS code, that NAICS code, et cetera. You can learn that information. That's my favorite thing about the federal market, is that almost all the data is transparent on an opportunity or on a requirement that they have. And so you can get in there and learn what's being bought and sold. I keep saying bought and sold. I don't think that means what I think it means, but what you're selling, and you get my point. All right, the last thing is you can learn spending patterns. Inside of FPDS, if you go in there and look at the data, you can see spending patterns. You can go to the complementary source of USA Spending and see that in a little prettier format for sure. It's dashboards over there. But you can see that data in raw data within FPDS. And that's really important when I'm looking into an agency and I'm trying to decide where do I go. Well, I don't want to go to somewhere where they're not really buying a lot of what I sell, because not only do I need them to buy a lot, but I also have to keep in mind I have a lot of competitors. And so they're going to get their share. And that means I'm only going to get a piece of the total that's being spent in an agency. So I would be looking for agencies that spend a lot on what I sell. These are just some of the reasons why you should master FPDS as a skill. Do me a favor, if you understand the value of FPDS, just put FPDS Rocks in the chat. If you understand that we need to master it as a skill, put FPDS Rocks in the chat. Let's fire up that chat with energy about that. Okay, so I am going to move really, really fast because there's a ton of fields. But here, I just wanted to point out there's multiple sections within FPDS. And I'm going to show you again them broken out. But you can begin to learn a lot about the transaction, how it was done. There's document information that's in there, all the dates and the values that are in there. When was it bought? When does it expire, et cetera. And I told you, you can learn about the competitor, like the entity is in there, or the competition, how it was awarded. You can learn all this information within FPDS. These bullets that you're looking at, if you're looking right now, these are just the sections that are inside of FPDS. So let's go have fun and go into FPDS. And let me find my screen where I'm sharing. There it is. So I'm just at FPDS. If you haven't seen this before, I'm just going to type in SharePoint because it's fun. So right away, I get back, 7,500 opportunities that are in there. A quick little teaser, there's way more SharePoint opportunities. Apparently, only 7,500 are in here that have the word SharePoint in the description, right? And that's an interesting thing, or in the company name. I don't actually care which ones are in here. I just want to sort it really quick. All I did was click on sort on the right to do date signed, but I just wanted to pull up this one company, and it doesn't really matter which one I pull up because all the fields are the same. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I just want to walk through the fields and try to get through them and tell you what each one of them does. Some of them I might have little hiccups because I don't have verbatim memory about every piece of the every field, but I have a document I keep that tells me what I need to pay attention to when. But if I come over here, you can see things like definitive contract, award status. This is just telling you about the transaction. One quick thing is inside of FPDS, you will see like a main, here you go, like here, this procurement identifier. That is like the main contract that was awarded. And then you see modifications. And some things might have 5, 10, 20 modifications. You want to look at all that data. If I just jump over to the right-hand side here at the top of the transaction information, you see these two people over here. For every modification, you want to make sure you're getting their names. There might be somebody who was on the original contract award and then it was modded or somebody else. And these people, you want to track on all of them and try to use that information to get in the door. So let me come back here. In the middle, you can see the activity on this FPDS entry. That's what this is, these dates at the top, right? These are just about this data entry. And you can see who did it. Generally, 𝗟𝗆𝗀𝗃 here, approved by, rules change back and forth. But at the moment, my understanding is that approved by now has to be the contracting officer because they have to validate the data that's in here because there used to be a lot of mistakes. You can find that out in 2 seconds just by taking 𝗟𝗆𝗀𝗃, going over into Google and just searching at EOP, the Executive Office of President, and 𝗟𝗆𝗀𝗃, and you'll find out, are you a specialist or are you a contract officer? So anyways, top right, you see the contracting officer's name. Really important field. Okay, so the next bit of information is document information. In here, you're looking at, and again, it's just so much data. I don't need you to memorize this. Really, I'm just trying to wet your whistle and get you to realize there's good data and it can mean different things. And for you to come back and take months at getting good at this. So you have the agency. This tells me a number that identifies the agency. In this case, you can see down here that it's the Executive Office of the President. I used to have a contract with them, multiple contracts with them, right? And here, the procurement ID, hopefully we all know what that is, but that's the idea of when you want to go looking for things, you go out and look. Procurement, the modification number, I can tell there's a second modification, which is fine. If I looked way down below, I will see more details, and I'll show you that in a minute. Right here, this reference IDIV, basically it's the contract vehicle. It references the contract vehicle that's used. And so you would see a number in there. That's how I can search. If I'm looking at Seaport Next Gen as an example, I might look in there and say, try to find only opportunities that were awarded on Seaport Next Gen. Here I can look at the reason for modification. That's not overly helpful to me when I'm doing most research. A lot of people I am finding today are, looking at that to see if there are Doge cuts and other things. But generally, the modification's pretty boring, right? What I want to see for me is description of the work down below. All right, so there's solicitation, there's treasury. These kind of fields, you can go look at them more, but these are just identifying how it was being awarded and where that's coming from. But the meat of the details start coming down here. So we get into the dates. I can see when this contract was awarded, and I can see this as a mod. And one of the things, the fields I track on the most is right here where it says ultimate completion date. I'm looking at this thing, and I would be willing to bet this, or let's say this is a contract I'd like to have. I can look out there and say, hey, let me put it in my pipeline because I can see that estimated completion date is coming up pretty quickly. The one thing that is odd to me is I'm just looking at the dates, and this is a second mod. I would want to go back and find the other transactions that were related to this work. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you can see current and total numbers. So action obligation, and the difference between the numbers that you see in here is how much are they promising and how much have they obligated, right? And so the idea is theoretically, when the whole contract is done, it's going to be potentially a ceiling of $2 million, right? And right now it's suggesting that it's sitting at 1.4. You can go in there and look. This comes back to the skills, by the way. I don't need me to be the one making you an expert on this. I want you to go become an expert. If you want, by the way, I have an FPDS document I can send you that lists out what each one of these fields are and how they matter to us. So let me know if you want that. Just put FPDS document, please, into the chat. Okay, so if I come down to the next section, now I'm looking at who's the buyer, right? This is really the money side for trying to get in. So I'm ignoring these contract numbers for a second. Those are useful, but those are second tier stuff at the moment because we think agency names. We don't necessarily think on the left-hand side. If you've ever watched a movie called The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, on the right-hand side is a stake and on the left-hand side is the matrix, right? It's the numbers that define the customer. But this is really, really important to me because I can see who's the funding agency and funding office, right? So inside of EOP, they've got a senior person who runs something called the Office of Administration. In this particular case, this agency is so tiny, even though it is the president, it is so tiny that office is really funding. Sometimes you might get the Air Force funding an Army opportunity out of a different contracting office. That's all cool. But this is where you come in and see, if you're looking at an opportunity, who is the contracting office who's managing that acquisition? This is really important because remember at the top, those people, that's the contract shop. That's different than the program shop. Theoretically, the funding agency, funding office are the program shops. Okay, coming down, now I can see my competitors, right? So in here, I can see who won it, their UEI. This stuff is kind of gold because I instantly grab their UEI, for example, and I'll go over to another tool that you should master called DSBS, or you can just go to my tool called GovCon in a box, which makes it even better. But if you go into DSBS, you can find the owner of this company and a phone number and an email, right? This phone number tends to be generic, but over there you find a person, their email, their phone number. That's all really good. So this is who bought it. This is a little bit about their information. So I can see here right away, look at this. I'm up here. This is a $2 million opportunity. And to the best of my knowledge, this is not a small business. Why on earth is a non-small business getting a contract for $2 million, right? It's crazy. But that's not what we're here for today. So anyways, this is where I can see, I might want to search for companies that are doing 8A or that are 8A or woman-owned, and I can go see what contracts are being won. So here we start getting into a lot of data, and I'm going to try to hit it kind of high, but I can start seeing like the type of contract. Is it time and material or cost plus or firm fixed price like this one is? Firm fixed price, it tells me a lot. It means that's pretty guaranteed revenue. T&M, it's based on the hours, things could change, but almost all my past contracts were firm fixed price, and that was predictable monthly revenue. Well, I might look in here and say, you know what? I just want to go find a bunch of firm fixed price opportunities. When I learn how to search these fields, I can go, oh, firm fixed price. Let me filter that down. It's not just about NAICS codes and keywords or something. There's a lot of data in here. There's other stuff. I'm going to skip a lot of these fields because these don't matter to me, and you can go look at it more. But right here, you can see purchase card used as a payment. Part of the problem is these guys don't always update the data, and only a certain amount of data needs to get into FPDS. I can't remember totally, or even today, 2025, what it is. Maybe Dave Waltz, you can tell me. But I think it used to be 25,000 and below doesn't have to come into FPDS. So it's different kind of information. If I come back here, I'm going to skip a lot of these things, but I want you to come back. Right here, you can just see the number of actions. This is starting to tell you how it was procured. So legislative mandates, I'm going to skip that one because I just know I'm going to run out of time. I want to come over to the more important ones, like on the right-hand side. I can see where the principal place of performance is, where the work is being performed, right? And so in this one, you see how it says Fairfax Vienna. I don't know this, but if I scroll back and remind myself about the vendor who won, I would be able to see they're right there in Vienna. And the reason I know that is because the customer, the executive office of the president, is in Washington, D.C. And so those pieces of information, I was just able to really quickly say, this is a contract that looks like they're able to do it out of their own office. That's kind of attractive to me. Those things you begin to learn in here, and they don't, once you develop it as a skill and you get really experienced, you start seeing this really fast. Okay, so let's come into what they were buying. This whole section is what did they buy? And there's various ways they describe it. But for me, if I drop to the bottom really quick, and I look at the description of requirements. That is my all-time favorite field. My second favorite field is estimated completion date, right? When is that overall contract going to be done? In this case, I'm looking at, look at that. It's SharePoint development. That's what I want. I don't know if Red Solution is on here today, but they do SharePoint services. This is something I would look at, put in my pipeline, and start pursuing now, especially if that business is not a small business. I would go validate that, but this is something worthwhile pursuing. And you can see where this is just an update saying POP extension. So now I'm really attracted to this opportunity. If I come back up, I can see how they bought it. And everybody buys SharePoint differently. 541, 511, 512, 519. They go down to publishing type NAICS code. There's too many for me to remember. So that's why you kind of keep going through, looking around. This is why I tell you, you need to come in and see how the government is buying. All these opportunities, there's 7,000. If I looked at the SharePoint opportunities being bought in the last year, I can start seeing a pattern of which NAICS codes are being used. And that's helpful. And here's the PSC code. So coming down, I'm not really looking at some of this, but you want to look at it, especially if you're on the manufacturing side. And then the rest of it, I'm not really tracking on because it's all kind of specialty stuff in the middle, right? Come back, learn those fields and understand it. I have just learned from what I do and my customers do. That's not really vital. Here is another major goods section. So if the top part, the part I just showed you, was what they are buying, the competition information is now showing you how it was competed, right? And this is really important because up above, we talked about the acquisition, the contract vehicle type stuff, et cetera. Well, now we're getting into how is the competition for this opportunity done? And I like this a lot, right? So right in the beginning, I can see not completed under the simplified acquisition procedures. And so basically $2 million contract's not going to happen, but you can start looking at this stuff. I do like how I see things like this, and this is what I'm talking about. Like I can be an expert. There's still a ton of stuff I get confused on. The extent competed was not under simplified acquisition. The solicitation procedures is simplified acquisition. I might turn to Dave or something like that and go, riddle me that. But I'm coming down. The part I'm really looking for is the contract vehicles are used. See how they didn't use a set aside? I would be trying to go in there and push this to a set aside. Right here, it says number of offers received. But the problem is number of offers sourced. This action, what I'm feeling like is this, they just updated it for this option. So I want to go back and look at the original contract and find that information. I'm not teaching you how to do that today. You can go do that or watch other trainings, but I can start seeing this traction. If this was not a modification, but it was the original contract, I would be able to see that there was 5 or 10 or 20 people who or firms that went after this. So I'm able to look at that kind of stuff. So here again, simplified acquisition coming down, setting us. I don't understand that part. And I'm really actually going to go search that after the training and just kind of just improve my own knowledge about some of these fields. Sometimes they just don't align. And that's a challenge you have to face on that. But anyways, otherwise, good stuff that's coming in. I can see in here, I'm not learning a lot, but I know if I went to the original source, I would. And then the last thing, I don't really track on this. You see how it's saying, other than no small business plan, this subcontracting plan is helpful data. This stuff at the bottom, it tends to be more helpful to me when I'm looking at $100+ million contracts or something where there's more value in there and to see if there's contract plans. And just so you know, like if I looked here as a subcontract plan, I could then go all the way back up here to the contracting officers, try to build a relationship with them to reach the program managers of the prime contractors who have won it and slowly try to get in the door, right? Not get in and sell right away, but to start building a relationship with companies that are doing that. So let me pause really quick. There's a lot of fields in here. If you want a directory list that I have that's pretty simple to understand each one of these fields, even the ones I forgot a little bit as I went through, if you want that, let me know. Just put in FPDS document, please, into the chat, and I'll get that to you. I want to update a little bit after clarifying that one question I had myself. But make sure you go through each one of these fields and understand how they fit into your strategy. Okay, so let me wrap up here with one more slide. I want to talk about some FPDS tips I use. I alluded to them, but let me go through. One of the things I like doing when I'm searching for anything is I go in and I look at date signed. By the way, the order of these 7 tips are just the size of the content, size of the text, right? You can see it go like that. So I sort by date signed. That field over to the right, you saw me do it instantly. It pushes up what has recently been awarded or the transactions. And this gives me the most recent activity going on. I could sort it a different way if I had a different agenda, but I almost always sort by that or total action obligation. Second thing is I use this to find teaming partners. I come in and look for other companies that are inside an agency I might want to get into, and I start reaching out to them. Remember, I said I could go to FPDS, find the UEI, go to DSBS, find the person. So I do that for number 2, finding teaming partners. Third one is I find contracting officers. I already told you, I go to the top right and I find them. I search for SharePoint in 2025 and I find a bunch of contract officers. You can find hundreds of them, right? This is the beginning of business development and outreach out there, or even capture. Number 4, export your data. I didn't show it to you, but up in the top right-hand corner, you can download the data from FPDS. A lot of data. I love doing that. I love pushing it into a pivot table, et cetera. But manipulating that data inside of a spreadsheet gives you a lot more flexibility. Number 5, I filter by the ultimate completion date. So I didn't show you how to filter today. I've done that in other training. But I go in there and say, look, I'm looking for contracts that are expiring between now and December. That tells me these contracts in 2025 are all being recompeted right around now, potentially in FY 2025. So that's my short-term pursuit. I might sit there and say, I'm trying to put opportunities in my pipeline that are expiring 2026. It's like, okay, that's a different estimated completion date. Number 6, learn about opportunities from your competitors. You know, that company I was just looking at, they had SharePoint services. If I was doing SharePoint services, I would pull their UEI out and then I would research FPDS with their UEI and try to see where else are you working? What other SharePoint contracts do you have that might not be quite labeled with the word SharePoint? So use your competitors to find opportunities. And number 7, use it to build an opportunity of slam dunk opportunities. I just described that, finding expiring contracts, but find the ones you wish you had won and start pursuing them now compared to chasing opportunities that perhaps don't align with your slam dunk criteria. All right, I'm almost out of time. I want to give you 3 things to remember from today's training. First thing is FPDS is the authoritative source of all contracts that have been awarded by the federal government. Some things that are not in there, but there is not another authoritative source. This is it. And then there's little other places for classified stuff. Number 2, I want you to master FPDS as a skill. Don't think of it as a tool you go in occasionally. Master it as a skill. If you were going to learn how to juggle, you would take the time to learn and you would have a lot of failures and you would just keep moving forward. Spend weeks and weeks learning it. And I mean cumulative hours. Number 3, use it for outreach to get in agencies. Find the agency you want to get into, find the contracting officers awarding anything aligned to what you sell, and then start reaching out to them, the top right-hand corner. You'll start getting traction. It takes time, but at least the information's right there. Hey, if you're a company doing over $2 million and you're looking to get help on BD acceleration into an agency, reach out. Let me know. Put workshop in the chat. Some of you did past couple of days, so I'll reach out to you soon. Don't forget about tomorrow's training. What do you do after the RFI goes into the federal buyer so you can avoid the black hole where RFIs sometimes go? For all of us, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm on time. I'm out of here. Have a great day.